Aye, shepherd's pie. Greetings from the Philippines. Welcome back to the channel for a
cost of living video.
Cost of living video. Some of you love them, some of you hate them. If you hate them,
skip them.
Skip it. Don't put yourself through the mental trauma of watching something you don't like. Come back for the next video. But if you do like them, buckle up and enjoy the ride. We have been giving serious consideration to knocking the cost of living videos on the head, but it has rained heavily today, so we couldn't go out and do a walk and talk, or I couldn't go out and do a walk and talk. And we did have a video planned that we were going to do together in a local restaurant, but again, rain has stopped play. So it was a cost of living video or no video at all. And Ellen said, my love, we cannot leave these people short of a video. We must do it. We must move heaven and earth to get a cost of living video up. So that's what we're doing. Not much I can say about that. However, we will have an important announcement to make at the end of the video. We've come to a conclusion, or we have observed that our living costs are getting lower. We will explain that as well. And we will explain another observation that we think you need to give serious consideration to if you're moving to the Philippines. But that will be all after our fixed costs. And our fixed costs are pretty much the same every week, so every month. So you might want to forward past that because there's going to be nothing new there. But anyway, we're going to crack on with our regular costs now, our fixed costs, which don't really ever change. Ellen's got them all written down. She's going to do some wonderful mathematics and some conversions and things, which she does all in her head because she is a mathematical genius. She doesn't need a calculator, not like other Filipinos. You know, how she does it so quickly. She's pinching me now. If I do that to her in a video, she says it's abuse. She does it to me, it's perfectly okay. But no, this woman's brain, the way it works, you know, it's like she should be working for NASA. But thank God she's not. She's doing her calls and living with me here in the Philippines, and I am luckier. Anyway, I've waffled enough. Let's go with the costs.
Yes.
So our living costs, our first costs is good. We're professional at this, aren't we? Is going to be our rental costs for our lovely little 2-bedroomed bungalow, we shall call it, or house in Bacong, just outside Dumaguete. And how much does that cost us a month, my love, to rent?
15,000 pesos.
15,000 pesos. But what does that cost in USD for our American brothers?
262.
262 US dollars a month. And what does that cost in Great British pounds for our British friends?
195.
195. Why are you whispering Great British friends?
So, because I just figured out now what it stands for, the GBP. So it's great.
Great British pounds.
Wow.
There you go. See, she's great with figures, logical thinking over things like that. Not necessarily so hot, but yes, that's what it sounds for, Great British pound. So we live very cheaply here. If I remember, I will put a link to the house so you can see what kind of a place you can get for that money. But as I say, people who regularly watch the channel will already know this. So let's look at our utility bills, please, my sweetness.
Yeah.
How much is our electricity bill? Or how much was it for last month?
Last month we had 3,085 pesos.
Good God. 3,085 pesos, which is what in USD?
54. In pounds, that's 40 pounds.
So 40 pounds, or did you say 52 US dollars?
54.
54 US dollars. We're rounding these numbers off. We've taken the decimal points out, so it's not exactly right, but it's more or less what they were. It was high. That's high for us. I was expecting it to be high though, because we got an incredibly low one the month before. It was it 19,000 something? It was under 20,000. Sorry, under 2,000 pesos.
Under 2,000.
It was the lowest it had ever been. So I said to Ellen, I'm not sure how this has happened. It might be because we were away for a little while, but I'm expecting the next bill to be a bit higher. And lo and behold, it was, for whatever reason, just over 3,000. First time that has happened in the Philippines for us. No, sorry, in this house. When we lived up in Valencia, Latinos, our bills were a bit higher there. They were 30, 3,500, 3,600 one month, I think. But since we moved here, that is the highest it's been. I think that's probably a combination of the bill being so low the month before, and also Ellen's wonderful daughter Kayla was living with us, so she would be having the fan on that at night, so that's probably why it's a bit higher. I would expect it to drop down, wouldn't you, next month to our usual figure of around the 2,500 peso mark. Okay.
Next, we have the Wi-Fi.
We have the Wi-Fi.
Which is also fixed. That's 15.99. I'm saying 15.99. 1,599 pesos.
1,599 pesos?
Yay.
But what is that in US dollars, my lovely?
28.
28 USD. And what is that in Great British pounds?
21.
21 pounds. So it's not bad. And how fast is it, sweetie? Because I can never say it.
100 Mbps.
100 Mbps, which is not bad. We could have had faster for more. We could have had less for less. But we went with that. And on the whole, it is not bad. The problem is brownouts. It goes down. I can't remember the last time it's gone down, not because of a brownout, because it was Phil Fibre. I can't remember that. Can you? When was the last time Phil Fibre had a problem?
Yeah, I can't remember which month. But it's just like...
So basically, it's very rare. It's very rare that Phil Fibre let us down, because we're with Phil Fibre.
It's just happened once.
I think it's happened once. It was a very short period. It's the brownouts when electricity goes down that brings the internet down. So we're quite happy with it. And we have a solution to that, which we're going to talk about at the end. So what's next?
Next, the water.
Water and
Water. Yeah, 50 pesos only.
Well, that's not true. She's very misleading in her statements. It's 50 pesos.
Yeah.
50 pesos is the set fee each month. And what happens is, for some reason, we have only started, we get electricity bills every other month now. It used to be, but the first year we're here, we always got 50 pesos. It was 50 pesos every month. And I thought, I don't understand why we have a water meter if it's always going to be 50 pesos. But then it wasn't. We suddenly got a bill for 455 pesos because obviously they had come out and they had read the meter and they will just hit you with that.
I think that's every 6 months.
Yeah, so that will probably happen every 6 months.
September.
So when Ellen says only 50, that's 50 flat rate without the actual meter reading. But it won't be much more than that when it comes through. And it wasn't even 50 for this month because we stopped getting the bills. They used to be every month, it would be a 50 pesos. Now they tend to be every couple of months. So she's just making up a figure. She's being deceitful, which I'm quite shocked by. So basically our bill for next month, for last month, was nothing. We haven't had a bill. So there we go. Come on, let's get on top of this, my lovely.
You have the Visa.
My Visa costs, and how much were they?
1,000 pesos. 18 US dollars. 13 pounds.
Yeah, it works out about the same each month when we go there. I get a 2-month extension, which usually comes to just under 2,000 pesos for the 2 months. I came unstuck recently where I forgot to go and I had to pay an express fee. But basically, when you even it out, because it's a strange thing about visas here, sometimes your ACR card will cost more 1 year, or this will cost less or whatever. There doesn't seem to be a science to it. But roughly it's always around the 1,000 peso mark, which is what, and again, can you repeat that please?
18 US dollars and 13 pounds.
Yeah, so a ballpark figure, 18 US dollars, or how much?
13 pounds.
13 pounds. And my memory's going, good Lord, you think this woman never makes mistakes? I make a mistake, I mishear something, she's pinching me again, you see. I am being abused, physically abused in this video. And it's not right. I'm just telling you how it is, Ellen. So it's not really very expensive. And what is our?
Oh, you have the insurance, which is 1,666 pesos.
See, she's lying again. I don't have any insurance. But now I'm about to explain why. I'm about to defend you on this one. Keep getting asked by people, what about your insurance? What does it cost? I don't have any medical insurance at the moment, which is very naughty of me. So I'm giving you what it cost before and what it will cost if I was to renew it. The policy I had is 20,000 pesos a year. It covers you when emergencies in hospital treatment for, I think it's 1.5 million pesos. I've done videos on this before. I interviewed the guy who arranges the Filipino insurance, etc. So if I was still insured with them, and I think I will be next month, the cost would be 1,666 pesos. But I'm not. But people always ask me, you've forgotten the insurance. I haven't forgotten it because I'm not actually insured at the moment. I'm self-insuring. But if I had it, that's what it would be. So what was that in pounds, my love?
22 pounds.
22 British pounds.
Yeah, and then in dollars that's 30.
Yeah, so it's not much, and it's not a great policy, but it's not a bad policy. The guy I interviewed called Michael Ornstad, who has a fantastic reputation over here. He's an insurance broker, and all the expats I know speak very highly of him because he works on your behalf if you have an accident. And when I asked him what kind of coverage we should get, he said around the 1.5 million mark is basically will cover you for virtually every eventuality. Obviously it won't cover you for long-term cancer treatment or that kind of thing, but it will cover you for a relatively nasty bike accident or car accident, and that's what I'm worried about more than anything else. So, do we have any more fixed living costs?
No, that's all.
So that is our fixed living costs. That's them in all their glory. How much does that come to in Filipino pounds, in Filipino pesos?
In total?
Yep.
That's 22,400 pesos.
Is that including the insurance?
Yeah.
So including the insurance, which I don't actually have, our living costs would be 22,400 pounds, pesos.
Yeah.
What would that be in? See, I'm not sure that's right. We worked on something earlier on. I thought we did two options, one with the insurance and one without the insurance, didn't we? So are you sure that's with the insurance?
With the insurance, yes. If it's without the insurance, that's 20,734.
Okay, so our living costs without the insurance, which were our actual fixed living costs, were
20,734.
734 pesos, which is what in USD?
363.
363 American dollars.
And in pounds, 269.
And in pounds, 269 pounds, which is pretty cheap. If I had insurance that month, how much would it be?
Totaling of 22,400.
22,400 pesos.
You're repeating. Okay. That's 219 pounds and 391 in dollars.
391 US dollars. So it's cheap. But those are not our living costs. Those are our fixed living costs. We just include those because if you want to come over here and you want to live your lifestyle and you want to live in a place like this, that's what it will cost you. But there's no way you could live on that. Not living the way we do. The vast majority of our living costs are our entertainment costs because we like to go out and live what we call a active social life. That's a good way of looking at it, isn't it? We need an active social life, and that is the majority of our expenditure. So how much money did I draw out last month? What was my total withdrawals?
84,700 pesos.
84,700 pesos.
Yeah.
That's
1,100 pounds, and in US dollars that's 1,485.
Okay, so our actual expenditure for last month, could you read me those figures again, please, a little bit slowly?
In pesos? Yeah, 84,700 pesos.
Okay.
In pounds, 1,100. In US dollars, 1,485.
Okay, so we spent £1,100 last month, if we're looking at it in the British pounds. Now, if we subtract our living costs from that, what does that give us?
It gives 62,300 pesos.
What's that in pounds?
809. In US dollars, 1,092.
Let's look at this book then. So yeah, so basically that's what our entertainment costs were, 62,300 pesos, and that is including our eating out, our eating in. That is everything on top of the fixed living costs, because I think that's the best way to do it. There's no point us breaking down that I can see, and it would require a lot more work, what our grocery costs are, because, you know, they're very low because we don't eat in that often and we tend to have simple things. So usually when we go to the market or something, well, supermarket or whatever, it's about between 1,000 and 1,500 pesos. We do that once a week. I will usually do a top-up shop, and that usually comes to around less than 1,000 pesos. So our groceries on a typical week are less than 2,500 pesos. Put that together for the month, a rough estimate, that would be around the 10,000 peso mark. The majority of our living costs are going out, and we spent 62 to 300. We're not suggesting for 1 second that you could live on this, that you would want to live on that you should live on that. You know, they're just our living costs, folks. You know, it's what it actually costs us, and it is usually a bit less than that, in all honesty. But we had Kayla staying with us, Ellen's daughter, and one thing that we have learned or I have learned, I mean, Ellen probably knew this already, is that kids are quite expensive in the Philippines. Not by Western standards. My God, it's a lot cheaper here than it would be. But I've not had, I have no kids. Kayla is Ellen's daughter. I did have a girlfriend over in Thailand for a while, about 5 years, and she had a daughter as well, a bit older than Kayla, and never really noticed the additional expense of that daughter, because the things that you tend to do in Thailand that kids like to do tend to be cheaper, in the sense that fruit's very cheap over there. You know, your slushies, your milkshakes and things like that, ice creams, are all considerably cheaper in Thailand than they are than, say, alcohol. I mean, you know, you'd probably get a milkshake or a slushie or a smoothie for half the price of a beer. So, you know, but here it's the other way around. You know, it is the things that kids like are more expensive. Now, we're not mentioning this because we're bothered about it or concerned about it, or we begrudge Kayla her sweet treats and things like that. I'm just saying it's an observation. It must be tough because, they don't seem to do things like kids' meals. Because in the West, you go to a lot of restaurants and that, they'll have a kids' menu where it's kid-friendly food and the portions are a little bit smaller. I know they wouldn't work with Kayla because Kayla likes her food, which is fine. I'm just saying, lots of things in the West are, I mean, we're having a discussion about ourselves because Ellen probably doesn't realise that. They are wary of the fact that if you like on a moderate to low income and you've got kids, it's expensive going out. So they will tend to do promotions for children. They'll tend to do kids meal deals and things like that. You know, all those things that you have, don't have any of that here. Don't have any of that there. You know, you're bringing out your 11-year-old, well, Kayla's 9-year-old daughter to a restaurant when we go out. It's not going to be any cheaper than having a third adult with you. You know, in factual fact, it's going to be more because the drinks are going to cost more. They're probably going to want dessert. As I say, we're not complaining about this. Just saying, it has surprised me how much it would cost to have children over here if you had 2 or 3. You know, so it's important because if you are going to come over here and you are going to get in a relationship with a Filipina who has, say, 2 or 3 children, there is nothing wrong with that. You do that, but your living costs are going to be a hell of a lot higher than a Filipina who doesn't have children, or we have one daughter. You know, it's just, you know, I'm just saying it is an expensive business. But as I've said many times, Ellen is financially independent. You know, she has her own money. She's proud of having her own money. She chooses to work. She has a good job. Keeps our living costs down. You know, if you get a single woman over here who wants you to support her family and, you know, all the rest of it, and she doesn't have any kids, she's probably going to be more expensive than a woman who doesn't have that viewpoint, who's got 3 kids. So I'm just saying, the point I'm trying to make very badly, your living costs will depend a hell of a lot on the partner you end up with and the situation they're in and what's expected from you or what you agree to, or, you know, that's the reality. We are not saying your living costs will be the same as ours. We are not giving you a guide. We are not suggesting anything. We're just talking about our living costs because some people are interested. So I think we've done that bit to death, haven't we? We've made that clear that it's quite expensive having kids in the Philippines, because it is. You know, there are times when I've taken adult friends out or I paid for a meal or whatever and not really noticed couple of times when we went out with Kayla, the bill came back, are you sure they've got that right? And you look and they break down and the ice cream was like the same price of a main, and the drink's like 100 plus more than an adult drink. You think, wow. So it's expensive having kids here, unless you're going to feed them on bread and water and keep them locked up somewhere. And that's not what we would encourage, but if you're going to do that, then obviously your living costs won't go up. And don't do that, that's bad. What's the other conclusion we've come to? I've forgotten now.
About the
I know, I've remembered. Thank you for the help. Thank you. Yes, pound is strong now. The pound is strong. It's up to 77 pesos. 77.8 when I looked before we came on there. And that has brought all our living costs down. Long may it continue, God bless it. The pound is, the Great British Pound, it keeps rising and rising and rising. When I first got over here, it was 68 pesos, which I can only assume is low, because it went up to 70 after I've been here about a month. And I've always previously, when I do my calculations on costs and things, when I'm thinking about doing stuff, I always work on the basis of 70 pesos to the pound, just to keep things simple. And it'll always be a little bit less, because who wants to, when they're doing mental calculations, you don't want to be working out 77. It's much easier to stick to tens. So I always do that. But the way things are going, it won't be long before I'll be doing calculations based on 80, which would be nice, because for whatever reason, the pound is getting stronger. The dollar doesn't seem to be doing so much. It seems to be around 35 pesos to the, or 135, £1.35 to the dollar, which it's kind of been for a while now. But the pound is doing very well against the PHP. And as I say, long may that continue. That will certainly make a big difference to our living costs. So it's nice. Now, what else are we going to talk about?
I don't know.
You don't know? Yes, you do. We have decided not to move. For anyone who was watching with bated breath, it was a difficult decision, but we're not moving. And it really was a difficult decision, because there were elements of the place we were thinking about moving to, which we really liked. I liked the pool. Ellen, I think, would like the pool.
Yeah.
I mean, Ellen's big selling point on the place was, I'm going to talk for you now, unless you would like to talk yourself.
Just the pool, the size of the apartment, the bathrooms, the bedrooms, the living room, the kitchen. That's all, I think.
I'm confused now. See, this is the thing. I didn't think Ellen was going to want to talk, but she did want to talk, and then she said something completely different to what I was going to talk. So now
you're asking me what I like about.
Yes, I am, but what I'm saying is, when we spoke about it before, you said the thing you liked about it most of all was the location. The fact that you could get into town and get a trike and that, and you wouldn't be relying on me on a bike.
I was worried about it first, because I didn't know that I can get a trike. Then when Joy said to me that I can, then it's good.
No, but what I'm saying is, when I asked you before, did you want to move there? You said the main selling point, the main reason for you would be the location, the fact you could get it out. That was the good thing. The thing you didn't like was the place was so big and you thought someone might have died there and you wouldn't stay there without me, and you didn't want to clean that much. And if I went back, you get a smaller place. Now you're saying you like the fact it was so big. That's the opposite of what you said.
I like that it's so big, but I also don't like I'm confused. I'm 50-50. I like that it's big, but I don't like that it's big because
exactly. This is what I'm trying to say to you.
Cleaning.
The negatives have become positive, so they carry on through.
The biggest issue I have there is it's so outdated. That's all. So outdated.
So Ellen didn't like. She thought it was a bit outdated. So what I liked about the fact was living close to some friends. I liked the fact it was a bit closer into the city. I really liked the idea of having a pool. But then when it came to actually move, I started thinking about the things that I like about this place, because I don't mind it. Yeah, we got a potential problem with one of the neighbours at the moment. It's a bit far out. And the reality is, to move there would have cost us an extra 10,000 pesos a month. And I'm not against paying an extra 10,000 pesos a month, but we kind of both decided that, given that we were torn whether we wanted to move or not, the fact that it was 10,000 pesos more, that we should stay here. Because you would think, if you're going to up your rental by 10,000 pesos, you want to be going to somewhere that you think is going to be better, that you really want to move to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That makes sense, doesn't it? So that's what we thought about it. Thought, well, yeah, if we were 100% decided that we wanted to move there, then the 10,000 pesos, yeah, fine, because we moved. And we couldn't decide that because, yeah, the pool was great. Be nice to live close to friends. There were a lot of benefits in the sense that we could get plugged into Starlink and a generator, and we wouldn't have brownouts and things. But then when I started thinking about that, we decided that we should just do a bit more here. So we're going to buy UPS, so we get an uninterrupted power supply for the internet, and we're going to sort out a generator, and we're going to do that sooner rather than later. I'm going to order something over the weekend, because if we do that, we've got that here. We've got the uninterrupted power supply, so we shouldn't lose the internet. We've got the generator, so that wasn't really a reason to move there. It was something we could do ourselves here. So really it just came down to being closer to some friends and having a swimming pool. And didn't think that was enough. That sounds terrible. I mean, hopefully I'm still going to see our friends when we're still friends, so hopefully, we'll still see each other out socially. I mean, I hope God, I haven't upset anyone. But, yeah, it was the pool, and I'm thinking, I don't think I'm going to use it that much. Because we really didn't like the apartment inside compared to what we've got now. So when we weighed it up, it was tight. I kept going from, yeah, we're going to move, then we're not. Ellen kept being really helpful and saying, it's up to you, my love. I'm thinking, yeah, thanks for that. I'm trying to make a decision here. And, one day we were moving, then we weren't. And then I thought, this is not fair on the lady waiting for an answer from us. So I thought it's better to just say no, which we decided yesterday. Because if we hadn't decided that, if I hadn't said that, I'd have woken up this morning thinking, do we move or don't we move? So yeah, we're not going to move from here until we find somewhere we really love. Because if we'd opened the doors to that apartment and it had been, nice and modern inside, a fitted kitchen, new furniture, we'd have taken it. We'd have been. And I really.
That is where we spend most of our time. It's not the pool, it's inside the apartment.
I think the pool would have been. I think I would have been. One of the reasons I wanted to move there was the fact that I think I'd be more likely. I don't go out enough here. I spend most of my time in a back bedroom working on the computer and doing stuff. I don't think I'm getting enough sun. Now Ellen loves that because she doesn't want me getting brown. Whenever I go for a walk or spend time out, she's always complaining. Look at yourself, you've gone all red, you're gonna...
It's not that I don't like you getting brown, you're turning red.
It is, she'll say to me, she's gonna get angry now, say to me, I wish I had your skin, you're so pale.
Oh yeah, but I'm not saying
So there you go, anyway, she doesn't, the typical Filipino, she doesn't like the brownness. So I don't go out much, and I did think to myself, I think I would have spent a lot of time there by the pool, working on my laptop, doing my quizzes instead of in the house, which would have been nice. But as I say, it's better the devil, wasn't against paying the extra 10,000 a month, but there were lots of unknowns, like what the electricity costs and that were going to be, and things can easily get out of hand. So yeah, it was a very tough decision, but in the end we both came to the conclusion, did we not?
Yeah.
And it was a joint decision because we both basically said, at the end of the day, let's just wait. And once we got the generator, and once we got the UPS, we may be happy here for a lot longer, I would have thought. And if we're not, we'll move. But it's got to be somewhere that, really rips our, that we think, yeah, wow, we cannot afford to lose this. And although it had a lot going for it, it wasn't enough. Yeah, anyway, I think we've done that to death. So we are staying put in our little 2-bedroomed bungalow palace, whatever you want to call it. I know it's not really a palace, but it is. It's a love palace. It's where where we are blissfully happy together. Ellen's kicking me out. Anyway, I think we got on far enough. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. We are staying here. If you did enjoy the video, smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed, it would be fantastic if you did. If they subscribe, what would it mean, Ellen?
There you are. It makes me happy.
It makes her happy. So please subscribe. If you didn't like the video, don't subscribe. But whether you do, whether you don't, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, stay safe and be lucky.